to be back in New Hampshire. We have our kids with us, first grade, kindergarten, and preschool. And prior to this weekend, they had never seen snow in their entire lives. And they saw a little bit of it in Iowa on Saturday, but then this morning in New Hampshire, they were able to do their first snowman. They were able to throw snowballs at each other. And my son, who's 5, said, I really like the snow. I'm like, you like it better than the beach? He's like, oh, yeah. I was like, so you're telling me you don't want to live in Florida? He's like, no, I want to live in Florida with snow. I'm like, son, it doesn't work that way. You got to make a decision, north or south. But just so everybody's clear, when we're in the White House with our 3 kids, the only thing they're going to be bringing back is homework, not cocaine. So don't worry about any of that. So we need a change. So I'm just going to hit on a few issues that are kind of top of my mind, but I'd rather spend most of the time just taking questions from you all. First, I'm the only veteran that's running for president this year. And I'll be the first veteran of a foreign war elected in this country since 1988. So it's been a long time. Used to be almost every president had served. That's it. We've gone away from that. I think it'll be better if we move back toward it. But part of the reason I mention that is because on day 1 as Commander-in-Chief, I am going to take all the social experimentation, all the woke, all the politics out of the military, rip it up, and throw it in the trash can. We're going to get the military back to mission first. We're not going to be putting up with this. And you need to do that. I mean, if you want to be able to deter China, you want to be able to have a strong America, you got to be able to recruit people. Right now, recruiting's at the lowest level since when the Vietnam War ended and the draft ended. Yeah. So we got a lot of work to do there, but we're going to go in there. We're going to be very strong. You're going to have a military that you can be proud of and that people are going to want to join again in large numbers. And I'll be very vocal when we make those changes as Commander-in-Chief. That military service is an honorable vocation, and that we want to have great young people joining. And we'll make it so that it's worthwhile for them again. And the other thing is I look at like Congress, and these guys are like chickens with their head cut off. They're not solving any problems. How they handle fiscal in this country is a total disgrace. You know, in Florida, we cut taxes by record amounts. Of course, we don't have an income tax, which, other than New Hampshire, I think no one in the whole Northeast could say that, because a lot of states tax a lot. We don't. So we're cutting taxes, and yet we're running big surpluses. And I've actually paid down 25% of our total state debt just since I've been governor for 5 years. And so that's the mindset you got to have when you're going at it. But and in the inflation and the prices that you're paying, that's a result of Washington, D.C. It's a result of them borrowing, printing, and spending trillions and trillions of dollars, and it was both parties, not just the Dems. I wish I could say it was only the Dems, but it's just not true. Both parties, both recent presidents, and it's been a big, big mess. So you're paying higher for groceries, interest rates are higher, small businesses are burdened because of their recklessness. So as president, I'll be the first president since Ronald Reagan to really lean in against the Congress and fight them on their overspending. And I'm willing to use the veto, I'm willing to do all that, and we will. But I'll tell you this, we can sit here just amongst ourselves here in New Hampshire and figure out a way to get our fiscal better. But you know what? 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, new people get elected, and they undo. And because they have an incentive to want to be irresponsible. So I think we need some big structural changes. We need term limits for members of Congress, which is very important. You actually can do it. Not Congress will never do it, but there's 2 ways to amend the Constitution, through Congress or through the states. So Florida's already certified at term limits. Other states have certified. I'll use the bully pulpit to get states together to certify term limits. And here's the thing about term limits. Whether you're Republican, Independent, Democrat, male, female, black, white, everyone supports term limits. It's like 80-85% because we know that's needed. These people are up there for 40 years making it a career, and they make it about them and staying in office. And it should be about you and delivering results for the country. So we'll do that. The other thing we need a balanced budget amendment to the U.S. Constitution. I have that in Florida. We have to make decisions. and you have to, you own those decisions. Now, Congress has an incentive to just charge it on the credit card. Well, the problem with that is there's a lot of debt, interest rates are higher. Just servicing the debt is getting close to $1 trillion a year to service the debt. That's totally unsustainable. So we need to force them to make decisions. And then the other thing, reform that would be needed is a line item veto for the president. A line item veto is they give you a spending bill, you can veto individual components to that. So like in Florida, I vetoed billions and billions of dollars of wasteful spending. The record for vetoes before I became governor was $800 million, and I set the new record, $3.3 billion vetoed in 1 year. That was 3% of our total budget that I vetoed that year. So it can be done. Given the president, they do these massive omnibus bills that nobody reads. They put that on the desk. Well, you know what? Your tax dollars should not be sent to promote transgenderism in Bangladesh. It is now. It should not be. And so many other things. Well, President, you just line it out. Line it out. And so we would do that, and so that's another reform I think we'll work with the states to do. But the trajectory of the country has not been good under the current arrangements. And I think we need a president that's going to go up there and be a change agent. You can't just rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic. We can't accept the managed decline for this country. We need to reverse the downward trajectory of this country. We need to put the country on a much different pathway, and that just requires the type of leadership that's going to want to get in there and do big things. We've done that in Florida better than anybody, and that's what we'll do as President of the United States. You know, the other thing I look at is when the issue with Hamas and Israel started on October 7th, I knew it was going to be an issue for Florida because we have so many people that go back and forth there. We've got a lot of Israeli Americans. And a couple days go by, and I find out that a lot of these Floridians and other Americans are stranded in Israel. The embassy wasn't helping them, the State Department, Biden, none of this. So I did an executive order, we scrambled planes, and we ended up rescuing over 700 Americans to bring them back to America. Now, which is honestly, look, I mean, the leaders lead, and you make a difference, you make a difference. But what bothered me was then what Biden started to do was they said, okay, we'll take Americans who are trying to get out, and this is a stressful situation, and we'll take them to Greece, and we'll leave them in Greece, and they got to figure out how they're going to get home from Greece, and they'll send you a bill for the transportation. Now, look, when you come to this country illegally, Biden will fly you all across the fruited plain free of charge. They'll put you in hotels free of charge, and yet our own citizens get charged when they're leaving a war zone. You talk about putting the American people last. That just shows you what these people in D.C. care about. They don't care about you. They don't care about the problems of this country. They care about their own agenda. Just look at what they've done with the border. You have 8 million people that have come in illegally just since Biden's been president, and you know there's people that are terrorists that have come across. You know, I'll say this, even though Biden has said, his own administration, there's like hundreds of people on terror watch lists that have come through, I will say it's beyond that because we don't even know all the people that have come through. We just know who they stop, and the media's like, oh, there's not terrorists coming. What are the odds that you could have 8 million and not a single one is a terrorist? Of course there are. Our enemies see weaknesses. They're going to exploit those weaknesses. Iran has sent people, Russia, China, other countries in the Middle East. I mean, I remember when Biden first came in, problems started to get really bad. I sent people in 2021 from Florida to help Texas at the border. And I went and I met with our folks, and I didn't see a single person from Mexico come in. I saw people from Libya, from Haiti, from all across the world were coming across. We don't know who these people are. It has put you and your community at risk because of their recklessness and their disregard. So this will be an issue that we will solve as your president. And I'm sick of the rhetoric on all this because we've had a lot of rhetoric over the years. We'll declare it to be a national emergency on day one. We'll send all available resources, including the U.S. military, to stop the invasion. We'll make sure we have policies like Remain in Mexico. When people come illegally, they need to be sent back to their home country. That has got to be the penalty for doing it. And we have 8 million for Biden, and they've got to go back because it's not going to be something we can sustain as a country. But I think, and yes, I will actually build the wall. I think the wall's important. Look, if we had gotten the wall built when Trump was president, there's no way Biden would have been able to bring in 8 million illegals. I mean, that's the whole purpose of a wall. It's a physical fact of life that keeps an invasion like this from happening. So I was really supportive of the promise to build it and have Mexico pay for it. Now, it didn't happen, but here's how you make it happen. Yes, Mexico's just not going to hand you money. The way you get Mexico to pay, or foreign countries, is you charge fees on remittances that workers are sending to foreign countries. Because, you have people, and it's not even, some of it are illegal laborers. Some of it is people that are here on green cards or work permits or whatever. They will make money. They will send back to Mexico or Central America or countries in Asia. You just do a small fee on that, you'll raise billions of dollars, and we'll plow it right into the border wall. And we will construct a full border wall. But I think the thing that's even more important than that is the root of the problem is the Mexican drug cartels are controlling our border. They are bringing in migrants, they are bringing in people for sex trafficking and human trafficking, and they are bringing in massive amounts of fentanyl, which is poisoning the people of this country. You have tens of thousands of people that are dying every year because of the fentanyl. And I've met, and the thing is, this is not just a border problem. This fentanyl's in every community in this country, in every region of this country. And I've met angel moms who have lost, and actually angel dads who have lost kids, high school kids, college kids, kids in their 20s to fentanyl. And what you find in a lot of these situations is the kids were not addicted to drugs. They bought a pill they thought was something else. It had been laced with fentanyl, and that's enough to poison them and kill them right on the spot. We actually had a situation in Florida where we had a family rented an Airbnb unit. 18-month-old baby was crawling on the carpet, and there was fentanyl residue on the carpet. That residue was enough to kill that 18-month-old baby, and yet this is happening all across our country, and people in D.C., they don't care. They're not doing anything about it. They're just shrugging their shoulders. I care. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to stop it. We're treating the Mexican drug cartels like foreign terrorist organizations. We're going to treat them so that we can use military force against them like we would a terrorist group. And I guarantee you, once they see that, you're going to see a big, big change in behavior very, very quickly. So I think that that's important. The other thing I think I'm thinking about is some of the stuff that's happening online and with social media and the censorship that we've seen. When COVID hit, you had people like Fauci telling these social media companies to censor dissent on lockdowns, dissent on forced masks, dissent on school closures. And just think about it. The Fauci policies that they did in March of 2020 and the Trump White House task force, those were some of the most significant things that have ever happened to this country. I think it was disaster in terms of the lockdown policies. But here's the thing. Don't you think as a democratic society you would want to debate over some of the most important policies that have ever been put in place by the federal government? Of course, and yet they censored that. They worked with the federal government to censor that, and that is totally unacceptable. And then when people would speak out, they would get attacked. People got canceled. So this is a real significant issue, and I can tell you when I'm president, anybody in the federal government who is working to censor dissent in this country with these social media companies will be fired on the spot. We're not going to deal with it. But one of the things I heard one of the candidates say really, really scared me. So Nikki Haley recently said on her first day in office, one of the first things she's going to do is she wants your name if you were on social media. She says you've got to produce your name, and why the government should have your name, I don't know. But that proposal would be totally disastrous. That's a massive overreach by the federal government to be forcing people to provide their names and cough up their names. People engage in speech, sometimes anonymously, is not like some new thing. Our founding fathers, when they were justifying the ratification of the Constitution, wrote the Federalist Papers. It was written by Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison, but they didn't sign it Hamilton, they didn't sign it Madison, they didn't sign it Jay, they signed it Pubulus. They wrote under a pen name because they wanted the arguments to carry the weight, and they didn't want it to be about them. They also didn't necessarily want to get attacked. So there's people now who want to contribute to the debate that occurs in our society, but understand their job that they work at, if they're articulating conservative policies, they could get fired from their job. So they may use a pseudonym to be able to do this. Why you would want to unleash the power of the federal government against online speech like that is beyond me. I think it's a very dangerous proposal, and I can tell you when I'm president, any proposal like that would be dead on arrival on day one. We are not going down that road. And the thing is, that's what China does on social media, and what it would do is it sets the stage for a so-called digital ID, where you're going to have a digital ID. Then they will then use that to parlay that into a social credit system. That's China's vision, and you have elites here in the United States that want to impose that. And all that would mean is your freedoms would be circumscribed based on your politics, right? And if you're towing the line, then you'll have more freedom. If you're not towing the line, you'll have less freedom, and that's just the nature of it. So I don't think that that's something that is very good. They also want to do a central bank digital currency, which would basically be the Federal Reserve would control a digital dollar. They'd eliminate cash. They'd eliminate cryptocurrency. That'd be the sole way you could have legal tender. And guess what? They would have oversight over your transactions, your financial privacy would be eviscerated, and eventually they would impose controls. Oh, you bought too much gas this week. Sorry, can't go. You bought too much ammunition. This is the vision that they're doing. So we've got to be smart about what these people are cooking up, and we've got to have a president that's going to fight back. So on day one, things like central bank digital currency, that will be dead in this country. You will not have to worry about it. We also have, education, I think, has been a big problem in this country in recent years. The purpose of schools is to educate kids, not to indoctrinate kids. We need to support the rights of parents to direct the education and upbringing of their kids. We have universal school choice in Florida. So if you're in Florida and you live in, say you live in Tampa, you can go to whatever your neighborhood school is in Hillsborough County. But you also can choose other schools within the school district, public schools within the school district. You can also choose to go to a charter school, which is a public school, but it's not controlled by the school district and not influenced by teacher unions, even though we beat the teacher unions in Florida on every issue. I'm the only Republican in the country that can say that. So you can do that, and you also can get a scholarship to go to a private school. So those are the choices that you have. And the reason why that's worked for Florida, 2022, the most recent Nation's report card, we were 3rd and 4th, respectively, in 4th grade reading, 4th grade math in the entire country. U.S. News and World Report just ranked us #1 for education in the entire country. And that was not 30 years ago. We wouldn't have even been in the top half of states. And so the choice works. But you have parts of this country where there is no meaningful choice, and you have a lot of areas where the students are on a pathway to failure because the school system is not producing good results. So we show the ability of choice to make a meaningful difference. We're going to do that nationwide because I think I look at like Chicago, Philadelphia, Baltimore. Do we want these cities to just continue to fail, or do we want to lift these students up, lift their families up, and give them an opportunity to make the most of their own lives? It honestly doesn't even cost that much money, but it would be the first direct challenge to the teacher union and the left-wing education establishment that we've ever seen in a lot of these inner cities. And so I think, honestly, you'd end up saving money because when people have access to meaningful education, can make something of themselves, you have a lot less problems in society as a result of that. So Florida shows that the choice works, and we need to do that nationwide. The other thing we've done in Florida is with higher education. Our higher education should not be about imposing ideology on the students. You look at some of these universities, they're protesting in favor of Hamas. Are you kidding me? And many of them are foreign students. Foreign students do not have a right to study here. It's a privilege to come to the United States. And honestly, I think these universities should be doing more American students anyways. Why are we trying to bring in so many foreigners? But anyways, they do it. I can tell you this, though. If you're on a student visa and you're making common cause with Hamas here, I'm going to cancel your visa and send you home. We don't have time for this. We got to start being smart in this country. But you know, in Florida, we now have all tenured professors must undergo review every 5 years and can be let go for poor performance. And so if you're politicking, if you're doing all that, that's fine if that's what you want to do. But we want people that are be focusing on the task at hand. Purpose of a university is not to impose ideology. It's about the pursuit of truth. It's about academic rigor. It's about preparing the students to be citizens of our republic. So we have actually made progress there. I don't think any other state in the country can say that they've made progress in that regard. But ultimately, our education system has to be sound. Our whole country is based on the idea that we're a republic if we can keep it. That's what Benjamin Franklin told people when he walked out of the Constitutional Convention. Part of that is you have to have each generation equipped with the ability to think for themselves, understand the foundations of our country, understand our Constitution, and understand what it means to be an American. So we've done that in Florida, and we're going to go nationwide and promote civics education when I become president to make sure that our students really appreciate all that it means to be an American. So the final thing I'll say, and I'll have you to take questions, is, well, two things. First is 2024, this is a really make-or-break election for this country. And we're not going to get a mulligan on it. We got to put our best foot forward. We need somebody who is going to be willing to fight for you. And we've had a lot of Republicans. I mean, they don't even put up a fight. I mean, they basically get rolled by the left. That is not going to cut it. And in Florida, Casey mentioned the fight during COVID when nobody had a voice. I was the one guy fighting for students, for parents, for workers, for small businesses, and we fought that fight, and it was the right thing to do. We also fought the fight about making sure we don't have sexualized curriculum in our elementary schools. Why we're even having this debate, I don't know why, but we said it's wrong. We said we want to protect parents' rights, and the media, the left, came after us, but so did the most powerful company in Florida, Disney. And a lot of people said, oh, they get what they want. There's no way you're going to be able to win that. But you got to be willing to fight when it's not easy. And if you can't fight for kids and the well-being of our kids, then what good are you to be in elected office beginning? So we fought that fight, and we won that fight as well. Yeah. But we also gotta win, not just win elections. In Florida, we had a state that had always been decided by 1 point. We won it by 20 points, 1.5 million vote margin, winning places that no Republican has ever won. And it was the best Republican victory in the history of Florida for a governor's race. And we were supposed to have a red wave in 2022. I remember Fox, this poll. I mean, these ridiculous polls that were wrong. There was no red wave in 20. There was in Florida. There wasn't throughout the rest of the country. And it just shows you that the idea that because things aren't going well, that Republicans are definitely going to win, 2022 shows that's not the case. Because inflation was high, crime, all these things were bad in November a year ago. And yet, Democrats picked up a seat in the Senate. We lost all these key governor's races. We barely won the U.S. House. And that was because of Florida and New York was the only reason we did that. So clearly what the party's been doing has not been working. And we need to stop with the culture of losing, and we need to create a culture of winning. So we'll be able to do that electorally. And it's not just me. You got to win the president. You need to win the House and the Senate and the state houses. And it's a team effort. We're going to do that up and down the ballot. And we've shown to be able to win. The good thing about Florida as kind of a proving ground is it's like 5 states into one, right? So if you're able, Southwest Florida, December, January, February in particular, you go to Southwest Florida, it's like being in Wisconsin, right? People, the Midwest, it's the Midwest down. So that's kind of dealing with, the Midwest folks. Then Miami is 70% Latino, very heavily. Most people speak Spanish. You learn to compete there. That's a whole different ballgame. Then you kind of have like Palm Beach and some of that areas. That's like New York City. It's like the 6th borough of New York City, right? So you're dealing with voters from the Northeast, and you do that. And I was the first Republican to win Palm Beach County in like 40 years, which is not easy to do. So we did that. So you have that. Then kind of the northern part of the state is more similar to like Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. And then I'd say central Florida. I grew up in the Tampa area. I'd say Orlando. It's kind of a mix of everything. I mean, people come from all over the place. So Florida is a great proving ground. If you can win Miami-Dade by double digits like we did, but also win the Panhandle big and all that, that shows that this big diverse country we have, we're going to be able to do very, very well. But winning the election is one thing. I hear all these slogans, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and almost none of it ever gets done. We need to win these big battles on behalf of the American people. We can't just talk about a wall. We have to build it. We can't just talk about draining the swamp. We have to drain it. We can't just talk about stopping the spending. We actually have to stop it. We can't just say and complain about the bureaucracy. We have to go in and actually tame the administrative state and bring it to heel once and for all. So I'm the only guy running. You saw this debate with Newsom from California, right? And I've never actually been in a room with somebody that said so many things that were false. It was really odd. Because here's the thing. I mean, you can argue for your position or not, but he was trying to say that people were not leaving California, which is a false. He was trying to say, oh, good, yeah. He actually tried to say that California has lower taxes than Florida. Now, nobody believes that. I mean, even the people that love the politics of California acknowledge that it's a high tax. So he's doing all this other stuff, and it's just kind of one thing after another. But the thing that we showed, people that watched that debate knew conservative policies work. His leftism doesn't. Freedom works, and we choose freedom of Florida over the failure of California. That's a great way to look at the future of this country. And so, just like we beat him on the debate stage, just like we beat the teachers union on school choice and keeping schools open during COVID, just like we beat Fauci on the lockdowns and everything with COVID on that. Just like we beat Soros when it came to these Soros-funded prosecutors. We removed 2 of them in the state of Florida to keep the state safe. So we have fought these people, and we have beat them on issue after issue, and that's what it's going to take to turn this country around. A Pyrrhic victory is not going to cut it. We need to make sure that we get in there, and with me on day one, I'll be spinning nails. You'll get 8 years of really high energy, strong leadership. And I remember when I became governor of Florida, I sat at the desk in the state capitol my first day in office. I just kind of looked around the office, and I thought to myself, I don't know what SOB is going to succeed me in this office, but they're not going to have anything to do because I'm getting all the meat off the bone. I'm going to lead on issues, I'm going to lean in on issues, and I'm going to take care of business. And that's exactly what you'll see. And then the final thing is, what this country needs is leadership. We need somebody that'll be able to lead. And part of what leadership is about is inspiring people to want to join the cause. I don't want to be in a situation like, look, you take positions, strong decisions. A leader knows not everyone's going to be happy with that. And there's a lot of politicians, they don't want to make decisions. They never want to be put on the spot. Because if you do, some people will like it, some won't. That's not how I roll. I understand. You got to be bold. You got to say what you believe. You got to get it done. And so not everyone's going to like it. But a leader should not go out and try to alienate people for no reason. I think you got to conduct yourself in a way that people have confidence in you as a leader, that people are willing to listen to you. And if somebody agrees with me 50% of the time, then I want them with us on those 50%. I don't want to push them away. So I think that's what we did in Florida, where we were able to win. I mean, I was winning voters who had voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016. I mean, Because I did things like maybe I saved their job by opposing COVID vax mandates, or maybe I kept their kids at school. So we want to do something. Obviously, we're going to come at it from a freedom perspective, conservative principles, but I want to build a big movement here. I think that's what it's going to take to turn this country around, and I've shown an ability to demonstrate the type of leadership that you need, especially when it's not easy, because when the wind at your back, anybody can make those decisions. The question is when the wind's at your face, when you're taking the arrows, are you going to be able to stand your ground and continue on leading? Or are you just going to fold your tent and go hide and run for cover? And I don't run for cover. We stand in there and we do it. And I just think, like the party going forward, we have a choice to make. I mean, for example, some people say, why you over Trump, or why you over this person? You know, Trump, I don't think he could get elected in this country. I think the media is trying to get him nominated. You see it in the coverage. Who's the guy they come after more than anybody? Me. They don't want me for sure. They do want that. But what's going to happen is they will turn on it. Yeah, they will turn the screws, and it's going to be nonstop about all the stuff from the past. And Biden's just going to be sitting in the basement. Just like 2020, he's just going to hang out in the basement. And that's the election they want. The election they don't want is to have a guy like me holding Biden accountable every single day, making this election a referendum on Biden's failures, on liberalism's failures, and showing that this country, that we have a pathway to a better future through our policies and our vision. So I think just the election issue, I think is going to be a huge, huge problem. But let's just say somehow he could surmount that. He'd be a lame duck president on day one. How does that work in Washington? The minute he would take office, everyone would start worrying about 2028. Trust me, you would not get momentum with the Congress. And I think he's got a big problem in how he would recruit personnel. It hasn't worked out well for a lot of people that have served in the administration the first time. I think he's going to have a big, big problem getting people to want to join the administration. Whereas me, we'll inspire people from all across the country to want to come. And I'm not just going to recycle people from Washington. I don't think that works. I think you tell people from all across the country, from New Hampshire, from Missouri, Texas, California, everyone, pick up your family for 2, 4, 6, 8 years, come to Washington, and let's return this government to its rightful owners, we the people. That's the vision you have to have. So I just think from a personnel perspective, I think it'd be very, very difficult. But I also think, too, is, and I was very supportive of his 2016 platform. You know, I just got asked by one of the reporters, Trump is promising to deport illegal aliens. You know, he made the same promise in 2016. He deported less than Obama did, Obama's first term. I mean, that's true. It's sad that that's true, but that's true. Talking about building the wall, talking about draining the swamp, talking about doing all the things that I cheered for at those rallies in 2016. So the question is, if he didn't do it the first 4, how all of a sudden is he going to be able to do it, you know, the next 4? So I think if you look at me, I'm somebody that when I tell you I'm going to do something, I've done it. 100% of my promises I made in Florida, I delivered on. I don't just do idle rhetoric. There are things I could say. You know, some of these candidates say these things that have no chance of happening. Anytime I say something, I intend to follow through on it, and I've thought through the plan that I would do to actually implement it. So for me, we would go in, great personnel. We'd be ready to go on day one, all the executive orders, all the legislation, start right there, January 20, 2025, and go through for 8 years. And the thing, too, a lame duck president, you remember Trump, when he left office, and he had a lot of great policies in place, Biden reversed them on day one, gone, just like a puff of smoke. You really do need to have a 2-term president to get this stuff to stick. Ronald Reagan, serving 2 terms, his policies extended far beyond his tenure in office, and he was able to leave a legacy that really dominated our politics for 20 years in this country. Now we're kind of where the left is dominating the politics, and we need to reverse that. So I'm the guy that can get it done, and we look forward to being able to make that happen. And final thing I'll just say is this. The founders understood that when freedom was under attack, people would have to stand up and defend it. People would have to do what it takes, and sometimes that's meant people have had to put on a uniform, risk their lives, and give their lives in service to this country. That's not what we're required to do, not even close. We're just required to do our part to be able to have our voice heard so that we can change the trajectory of the country. But if we allow this generation to be the first generation of Americans to turn over to our kids and grandkids an America less free and less prosperous than what we inherited, we will have been squandering a great legacy that we've inherited from every single generation of Americans that have preceded us. And I'm not going to be sit idly by and witness the managed decline of this country. So I'll fight for you, I'll win for us, and I will lead this country's revival. Thank you all.